I make zero money from oil and things like that. I'm paid zero. And it is so frustrating. In fact, I will just declare here that I actually have family who's got farmland with little gas wells, where I guess they make a few $1,000s a month. And actually, some of the natural gas lobby gets on the green lobby and on the climate committees. You can look it up. And they do want to shut down gasoline, oil, because that would actually increase the price of it. So if anything, if I was an opportunist, because I don't get any of that family money, and it's not much, because then they jack up your property taxes, and it basically all goes to that. You know, most of these little wells in Texas aren't that big. They're drilling them all over the place. If I was an Al Gore type, and by the way, he's got big natural gas holdings, that's on record, that's another reason. See, if they can, if oil and natural gas can get together and shut down coal, there you have it. And by the way, I'm all for natural gas cars. They run great. They're you know, it's just that people haven't really adopted that. But the point is, you shouldn't force people. And yes, natural gas puts off hardly any carbon dioxide. And so we get lectured all day about how we need to use it. But I'm sorry. We ought to be geoengineering this globe and putting more carbon dioxide out. In fact, I've seen government reports where they're actually talking about, in the last few decades, about the lowering carbon dioxide level and will it be needed to put big factories in to produce it. You can't argue with the fact that it was 14 times higher 200,000 years ago. In fact, a lot of scientists marvel that plants just slow down their growth cycle. And in a lot of cases, they're basically just hanging on right now with that level of carbon dioxide. God almighty, what is going on? And then the globalists are targeting that one thing that we're starved of. It's so diabolical. Incredible news coming up. Drive our ships to new lands. Fight the whole. Sing and fight. Valhalla. All right, we are back live. Let me just give you a smattering of the news, okay? Before time gets away from me here. I was just during the break watching Fox News and others hyperventilating over arsenic in apple juice. That's naturally, biologically bound in it. That's why if you eat the seeds of cherries or apples moderately over the years, it's been proven in many studies to be a massive cancer reducer, because it doesn't just have arsenic. It has the precursors to cyanide in it. And for whatever reason, that stops mutations. And see, the system knows that you're awake to being poisoned. And so if they tell you about arsenic in apple juice, here's an example. I'll go ahead and get into this now, then I'll get into it more later. And I should do a whole report on this tonight on the Nightly News. In fact, I think I will. I've just got to, when the show ends, actually pull all this data up so I can put it in a news package to document it. They put in world regulations to where there has to be basically zero arsenic in a water supply. And then they come in and tell local communities, you've got to put this treatment system in to stop the arsenic. Now, once it's gone through the treatment, you're allowed to put poison in it under waivers. So you're not allowed to have it in the clean aquifer water, but then once it goes through, they can dump anything they want, basically, with hundreds of deadly chemicals in it under the name of fluoride. Arsenic, lead, mercury, radioactive isotopes, sodium fluoride. It's all in there. That's on record. Just look it up. But that's to bankrupt, under federal mandates, all the local water districts. And then right on time, these big multinationals come in and say, don't worry, we will take over your water district that's been paid for with taxpayer money, and we'll do it cheaper. The minute they come in, it goes up 30, 40%. 5 years later, it's 300%. And they just don't care. And they own your politicians. Then they set up their own weird police forces and incorporate, but they're still private. And we've got that going on here in Texas. Almost all these companies are German, Dutch, Canadian, Italian, Australian. LCRA right now is trying to sell the lakes out and the water treatment systems to some European companies. That's just right here in Central Texas. This is how these people operate. This is how they get this scam into place. But getting back to my Apple story, I was just watching it during the break. Now I can't find my Apple story. Here it is. Arsenic in your kids' apple juice. And they're talking about how deadly dangerous this is. Why don't they talk about the mercury in the vaccines? Why don't they talk? No. They select little certain things and then say, oh, my gosh, there's naturally occurring, that's what they say, small levels. Oh, my gosh, it's 23 parts per billion, holy mackerel, in the average apple juice. What are we going to do? Well, we've got to start restricting it. And so, see, the apple juice is evil, but, I mean, so many fruits have arsenic in them. But it's naturally occurring, and you need arsenic. People have asked me in some of the vitamin and mineral products we promote why they have trace amounts of those things in them. Because it's, the way the different chemists have explained it, the really good vitamin and mineral companies have that, and it's always organically bound. They explain how that works. Because without super small trace amounts of those in with the other vitamins and minerals, your body can't uptake it. Okay? So what they're doing is they're going after these trace things you need as a big freak out and excuse to scare you away from apple juice, while meanwhile, in every major study that we've covered here, just type in GMO corn linked to organ failure, infertility in every rodent study. You'll get hundreds of prestigious rodent studies. Sterilizing, massive cancer increases, absolute devastation going on right now, and they're busy getting us to be completely scared of this garbage. So there, I've already pretty much covered that, but there's a lot of hyperventilating, a lot of perseverating. You've heard all the news. Now they're saying Sarah Palin was having sex with basketball players, cocaine, all this other stuff, with no proof. This is the big hit piece, a long time in the making. And I have no doubt that a beauty queen might be a little wild. But it's a complete distraction. If you're wanting me to talk about it, it isn't really going to happen. You know, she's not usually moralizing. That's another issue. She's mainly into economic issues. Now, Rick Perry, it's another subject. That guy's as phony as a $3 bill. All right. We'll get into Libya. We'll get into taking your kids away if they're overweight. Straight ahead. Big news. Stay with us.
And I won't back down.
Okay, we are back live. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. Let me just go through the news in order here. Israeli officials say Jordan is hanging by a thread. And they are also saying that they have removed their ambassador from Jordan as a million-man march is prepared. Give folks a document cam shot. We'll shoot them over here so people can see them that way. I'm never directing some of the new folks we got running the board here, and so it's not their fault they're shooting these documents over my head the last 2 weeks. I just like to shoot them over here. There you go. Israeli officials, Jordan hanging by a thread. State officials warn of precarious state of Israel's eastern neighbor, suggest Jerusalem considering causing significant damage to Palestinian economy ahead of UN vote on statehood bid. That was out of Ynet, big Israeli news, yesterday. Here's today from the Iranians. Israeli ambassador flees as Jordanians plan million-man march. This is not going to go good for anybody. In fact, I went on Press TV a few months ago to talk about this move towards Palestinian statehood, and that basically the globalists have been behind a lot of these Arab Spring operations, but the Iranians have been in there too trying to steer it. And I warned the Iranians that they were walking into a trap. And as an American, I don't want wars. I don't want dead Americans. I don't want dead Israelis. I don't want dead Iranians. You notice that the West stood down and basically aided and sent in the revolutionaries to start the fall of Hosni Mubarak 6 months ago. And that's now confirmed and been admitted. And now they've banned free speech, and they're making women wear the burqas. It's all happened. You know that in Libya, they have put al-Qaeda in charge. The actual leaders are all al-Qaeda and admit it. And I thought they would wait 6 months, a year or longer to say, oh, my gosh, we've got to now invade. Al-Qaeda took over. They're already saying NATO needs to send in troops to take over fully because al-Qaeda has now gotten Libya. I mean, that's the end of logic. And, of course, what the globalists are doing it completely in a logical, cutthroat way. But the way they push it on the public, there's no logic. It's like, yeah, we got to get rid of Gaddafi. There was a peaceful protest against him. Meanwhile, it was Western-backed al-Qaeda rebels shooting and blowing things up. Then they lie and say that Gaddafi's not popular. They have a 4-month bombardment. They invade. They say that Gaddafi's been overthrown. He hasn't. Still, large areas of the country are fighting. It's a civil war. Continuing here with what's happening over there. This is big news to have Jordan on the verge of falling, and that monarchy. And so, of course, Israel, regardless of which side this debate you're on, no matter if you're neutral, this is all part of a larger global meltdown and a war. And I see some of the Palestinian people, I see some of the Iranians and others, saying we're going to get rid of Israel entirely, we're going to push it in the sea and all that. This is not going to end well. I mean, I see a lot of the anti-Israel people out there that live to hate Israel, and that if somebody slips on a banana peel, they think it was Israel. And I'm certainly not a fan of the things Israel does or Israel manipulating our internal politics. I don't like that. But Israel has conservatively 400 modern nuclear weapons and long-range, medium-range bombers, ballistic missiles, submarines. And they will use nuclear weapons all over the Middle East. And I don't want to breathe the radiation. I don't want to see tens of millions dead. And Israel is being maneuvered into a position that when their cities get bombarded and attacked and there's riots everywhere, they're going to start using nuclear weapons. And that crisis is going to allow the globalists to come in and clamp down on everything everywhere. This is not a good thing. Just like Kennedy saying no to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and L.L. Lemnitzer and others, and Curtis LeMay, and not allowing nuclear war with the Russians in the Cuban Missile Crisis. And they called him a wimp. Well, a lot of you people that are on the kill Israel side, oh, you're a wimp. You don't want to kill everybody in Israel. Or on the other side, oh, you're not totally worshiping Israel. You're anti-Israel. No, I'm not in the middle of this ancient tribal warfare. And this is leading to a very bad place. And the globalists plan to bring in world government out of this big war that could potentially kick off anytime. And the whole thing is orchestrated by the globalist. And the Rothschilds are involved. I've seen Weiner losing his seat in New York, stepping down, special election, the Republican wins. And Drudge had the headline, Revenge of the Jews, because it was a lot of Jewish constituents that gave money and campaigned against the Democrat, because now Obama is seen as anti-Israel. Obama is a globalist. Obama is financed by the Rothschilds through the big mega banks and the Rockefellers. He's a puppet. This is all part of a strategic program to set up the entire Middle East and everybody else and bring everybody into a huge war that's going to kill Arabs, Palestinians, Jews. We're all going to lose freedom, and it's going to be used as the political military distraction during the banking implosion that brings in the world government. They've got Jews over there demonstrating and rioting over austerity and the shutdown of their economy, just like they're doing in Egypt, just like they're doing in the U.S., in Greece. We're all in this together. And peace is not going to be given a chance over there. Israel has been caught creating Hamas, as a counterbalance to Hezbollah. Israel has been caught staging events. The military-industrial complex there wants war to go on and on and on and never to end. And this is a larger globalist operation. What did Albert Pike write about in 1878? He said, we'll have 3 world wars. First, it'll be Europe and the United States. That will bring in a partial world government. We'll have a second world war, the same parties. Next will be Christianity against Islam. And out of that will come the one world religion. And that's the clash of civilizations. These people have theorized and developed these programs a long time ago.